Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the final round of Odyssey Premier Cup. I am your commentator today, Magnus, and I will be joined here shortly by Christian. Unfortunately, Richard will not be streaming today. Mr. Man has a bit of a sore throat, so exciting times ahead. We have 13 drivers on grid, and today we are at MISANO. I tell you what, I meant to bring up just a little bit of track info about this, so let me quickly pull that up. Let's see here. MISANO, Emilia Romagna, Italy. Beautiful little track here, a little bit wet for these drivers today, so that'll be exciting. This is a 3.4 kilometer track, 2.1 miles, hosting a nice 16 turns, so this should be real fun for these guys. You know, just looking now, I'm trying to find the standings to run through these, and it looks like our top 3 drivers here today are actually Italian, so home race for those guys. This will be exciting to see for them. Let's get off of autopilot because it is just showing us. There we go. Let's get to a TV cam there. Look at that Ferrari followed by Mustang. I did try to sync liveries today, but not sure if it worked or if any of these guys have specific liveries up and ready. So let's see here, pull up if I can find standings for this. Here we go. I was on the wrong thing. Here we go. Standings. So there are 13 drivers on grid with us today. Actually, Richard is racing today, but let's see here. Mattia Zampidri, he is 8th there on our screen, and he is currently leading the championship with 156 points. So he's going to be looking to hold on to that today, hopefully not having any incidents or issues around the track. Eduardo Ruggiero is in P2 with 140, so he is going to be the man to fight today for those final points. $500 prize pool is at stake for these guys, so they will be looking for anything they can. There is a drop round. I am seeing it looks like it's already been applied, so that might impact their points. If they have a bad race today, it might not be too much of an issue. So we'll see how that plays out. William Pisano, P3, he is 120 points, so a little bit further behind. Still going to be fighting for his position here just to make sure he can get in with a good result and maybe make a little bit of money out of this. So top 3 drivers, all 3 of them Italian. That's a little fun one. Chase Jones is our P4 sitter, a familiar face around ORL. He has 100 points, so definitely going to be pushing for a big result today. It looks like our top 3 drivers actually have been very consistent. William Pisano has finished P3 in every race thus far. Eduardo Ruggiero, P2, 1, 2, 2. Mattia 1, 2, 1, 1. So very consistent between those 3 drivers. Fleming Boer, he's in P5 there on the left side of our screen. He is actually the P5 sitter in championship. Smythe Adams, P6. Emmanuel Cardinelli, he's here with us today. He's P7. So it looks like our top 7 drivers are with us today. All competing for those final sets of points. Radovan Zankel, I'm not seeing him with us. He's P8. Emery Sonmez, also a name missing from our board today, P9. Sean Schutz there as well. Actually, he's with us today. He's P10, so he's going to be looking to make a move up in the standings, maybe just for a couple points there. He's 2 points behind Emery Sonmez, so he has a potential, well, he has an almost guaranteed move up in the overall standings. And then Adam Westland is P12. Our P11 driver is DSQ, but Adam Westland's there as well. He's going to be looking for a few more points. So Definitely going to be interesting to see what goes on here today. Of course, our focus is going to be on those 3 drivers, Ruggiero and Pisano, as they fight it out in this final race for those last few points. So let's see, Justin. Yes, let's go Richard. Let's see how he does today. ORL owner, by the way, so we'll see how he does here today and what he can't pull out of the bag and perform. Quickly minimize this and open this. There we go. Full screen that, and here we go. Let's see around the grid. Pisano there in pits. Henry Meyer. We are just in the last few minutes of practice, so we will go to qualifying shortly, and hopefully Christian will be here with us to just give me a little bit of support. If you join me on Sundays with EU series, which is tomorrow again at the normal time, 7 p.m. GMT, we'll be at the same place, same conditions, and that one should be good. But if you join me every week, you'll know I do not get the chance to breathe, so it'll be nice to have somebody with us today that can kind of alleviate some of my endless rambling. But yeah, looking at the board right now for our practice times, it looks like we're going to be seeing a fair few low 140s. Pisano's there pushing a very, very low 140, maybe even a 139 in qualifying if he can piece it together perfectly. So 140 is definitely the range we're looking for. It looks like we have a couple 141s and a 142 here and there. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out. I know this is a beloved track among many drivers. However, the rain can always create issues and definitely throw drivers around and confuse them just a little bit. You know, it happens. The rain creates some interesting variables for their driving, and can definitely change things, especially when it comes to hard close battles. You have to remember braking zones are longer and lockups are a little bit more likely, so hopefully everybody will be cautious of the drivers around them today. So I'm excited to see what goes on and how this happens, plays out, and what our final results will be. It's definitely going to be a big, strong fight between those 3 Italians, and hopefully, and I say home race, there is also Monza, and that could be a bit closer to them, but for a in-country race, this will be a big one for these guys. Now just bear with me, I gotta take off my sweatshirt. I'm just a little bit too warm. It's a touch cold in my part of the world, and the heater is finally kicked in, so here we go. I do know they said they would bump forward the session to qualifying, and it is now 1 minute past the hour, so I'm sure they will be moving it forward here shortly. We will see what happens in a moment. Now, if you're with us today and you're new, don't forget to subscribe here to not miss a single race. There are multiple series. We have a big bonk into the wall. I think maybe let's just go to a different driver. Let's see, there's another car on track here. There we go. We do have multiple races that are undertaken by ORL. This is the last round of our Premier League with a prize pool of $500. So, and also feel free to join us in any of those races. I believe we have 2 categories of GT Americas, rookies and Pro-Am, which race separately, and then a late night series as well. Here we go for qualifying, and then GTEU, which is tomorrow. So definitely looking forward to that with all of our familiar faces around. And here we go. We have some cars out on track. Here is number 87, Nathan Smythe Adams. He does not like it when I call him that. He will be our first driver out to set a qualifying lap, so we will see what he can't perform. This first little outlap is always a little bit slow, a little bit more boring, I guess you could say. Let's go to TV2 here. Let's see a bit of a better angle. I don't mind TV1, but on this track it seems to have some odd camera angles. So we have 3 cars coming around here. Number 4, Fleming Boer there. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Boer. And then I believe that was Chase Jones behind him. So 3 drivers getting out early, getting fast. I say 3 drivers. There's a lot of drivers I already see. There's 4, 5, 6, 7 cars, 8 cars all coming around to set a lap nice and early. We got 20 minutes of qualifying, so plenty of time to get out and set as fast a lap as possible. Definitely using every inch of track they can, and with these rainy conditions you want to use some curb here and there, but you also do want to be cautious there as it can inhibit some loss of traction. So alrighty, it looks like Mr. Christian is returning now, so welcome him in. Hello, Christian.
Howdy. Good morning.
Welcome in.
Or, excuse me, sorry. Bienvenido a tutti. I believe the correct pronunciation when you're here in Italy, right?
I guess so. You got me beat. You've already thrown me for a loop, so that's
all right. Great start.
Yeah, that's a good one. You know, it happens. Yeah, some people know Italian, some people don't, and I am one of those that does not. One of those basic ones, you know, pizza, pasta, you know, just the basics to get you by. Order a nice margarita. Well, I'm sure our Italian viewers will appreciate the friendly gesture. You know, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever people are in the world, we're all happy to have you here. Looks like we're underway on our first flying laps here. Smythe Adams is leading the charge for setting a timeout here, so we'll see what sort of laps he can put. Christian, you will have missed it in practice. We had a lot of mid-low 140s, so that's what we're going to be looking for here today. See maybe even a possible high 139, as Pisano did, Pisano did manage a very, very low 140 in practice.
That is a pretty incredible time to see in the wet, especially at MISANO, which is a track where you want to cut and abuse the track limits as much as possible. And the issue here today is that the rain's not going to allow you to do that on more than 75% of the track. So it is definitely going to be changing the line that some of these drivers are going to take in some of these corners. But seeing someone do already a low 140, possibly a 139, that's incredible, I think.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Especially the track like this, you know, there's that constant want to ride the curbs, and even here we see Mr. Adams taking those curbs heavily, but you lose that traction if you take them too much. And we're already seeing 140s on the board. Pisano with a 140.3. All the way back to Smythe Adams with almost bang on 141. So top 6 already within 0.7 of a second of each other. Sure to see a lot of improvement here in the coming laps. We do have 15 more minutes to go, so I'm sure we'll see some shifts and some switches around. Maybe tighten up that top.
Squirrely exit there.
Oh yeah. Good little track. This lots of corners, lots of challenges, especially in the rain. These faster corners where they're into quick braking zones or heavy braking zones. They really got to challenge themselves. Make sure they don't hit any puddles and lose control. Be interested.
Misano's the place to do that, unfortunately.
Oh yeah. It's one of those where you get on those curves a little bit too much, and right there you see a little bit of a squirrel out of those corners, and it could be either the sign to a faster lap or sign to losing control and crashing. But here we go. Top 7 now, all within that 1 second marker under the 141s. Very tight already. I'm interested to see if anybody goes any faster. Oh, looks like Chase Jones jumps up there with MISANO, just 0.01 of a second off. Let's go join.
Whoa, yeah, that's so if I remember correctly, there were 3 drivers that were literally the exact same time in the 3rd sector. Chase Jones being one of those drivers, and I believe Pisano being one of the other ones. So there's a 3rd driver out there that's getting the exact same time, which is, I think, like, it was like 32 seconds, 35 seconds in the 3rd sector, which is incredibly quick as well.
Oh, yeah.
But Chase Jones just screaming past everyone there to take that provisional P2 spot.
Definitely putting it out there. 3 drivers showing. I did see that actually in practice. 3 drivers showing that they all have the gall to fight against each other. You know, our top 3 in this championship are all Italians, and you know, they're all going to be fighting as hard as they can today. But with Chase Jones, he sits in P4. He's going to be fighting for a few extra points as well, especially against these Italians. Give them a little bit of an upset on their home turf. That'll be an interesting one to see. Looks like as we go, our gaps are closing in. We've got a couple drivers in the 41s and 42s, so I'm sure they're going to be looking to improve as much as they can as well. I did hear in practice Adam Westland, even though he was near the bottom overall, he had the fastest first sector, which hopefully for him, he can piece together a slightly faster 2nd and 3rd sector and pull himself into those 140s. He does get closer lap by lap, but actually there we see Emmanuel Cardinale 140.042, so already knocking on the 139 door, saying, hello, I want in. So we'll see if he can't pull that last half a tenth out. It's quite impressive for the rain, especially at a track like this where the curbs really can be your best friend or your worst enemy. Oh, a little bit of a slip there from Pisano. Just jump to a driver actually on track here. There we go. The 104 Mustang of Mattia Zampidri, 140.4, still just under 12 minutes even to go in the qualifying session. So drivers changing out tires, refueling, and hopefully getting back out on track to see if they can't chase down Cardinale. Don't let him be the front runner for the entire time here. I do know that he has been doing very well this entire time, so we'll see if anybody can compete.
We are still on board with Sampidri. Mattia Sampidri, not provisional, but he is P1 in the standings so far for a little bit of a interesting.
Yeah, I don't mean to cut you off there, but Henry Meyer jumps to 138.847. What a time.
That was.
Yeah.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
Yeah.
It's me, Henry. Open the door, 139.
He said, wake up, I'm here. Now everybody else is definitely going to be trying to make a call and fight back. Henry Myers, P14 in our standings. Looks like he was only with us for the first race, so we'll see how this plays out. Change up maybe a little bit of the standings for those top 3 guys if he can keep performing like that. That is one heck of a lap to just show up with. I'm sure even the stewards are going to be shocked by that. We'll see if anybody else can't pull out a 139 and respond to that.
Interestingly enough, if memory serves me, usually front engine cars do a lot better ring. Just normally how the way the science works and how front engine cars are able to redistribute the weight basically onto the front and give you better grip. However, we do see top 4 mid-engine, if not Porsches. So it's I sit corrected actually. Sampidri now in provisional P3 with a 140.322. Still trying to knock on that door of 139. But yeah, I was gonna say it's all mostly mid-engines that I've seen. Normally you see a variety of cars. If anything, there are a couple of cars that are super good in the wet.
Looks like Meyer has a little bit of a mistake there. Yeah, it seems like with the front engine, you get that bit more weight transfer onto those front tires, get you through the corner, especially in the rain, being able to push through those wet areas and get away with something. Let's go see Cardinale here in that Porsche rear mid. He's doing pretty well here. He's definitely looking for a bit more pace. I'm not seeing a lot more tightness in the back. Looks like we still have some 3 drivers outside of the 140s by just a little bit. So even if they are just a little bit out of the range, they're still at least going to have a bit of a fight with each other potentially. And over the course of this race, hopefully not cause any blue flags, or too many at least. Keep the racing pretty consistent, but definitely going to be interesting to see the first few minutes of this race and what happens, especially into T1. You know how T1s go in every other race. It's now raining, so this could cause for some interesting interactions there at the very beginning. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe this is an hour race, so a lot that could happen here over the course of the entire race with a lot of these drivers. Like we just saw from Henry Meyer, you could be on a really good lap with good pace, and one small mistake can change a lot for you very quickly. So we'll see how that goes for all of them. Just about 7.5 minutes to go. Still a little bit of time for these drivers to push and get in another fast lap or two and show where they actually are. It looks like MISANO and Jones are actually running the exact same time here, 140.325, and basically almost on the money with Sampedri there in P3 as well. So
that only separating P3 and P4, it's 0.003 of a second.
Yep, it is tight.
That's a chin hair, basically. It's such a small margin that it's like any tiny mistake coming out of an exit, or just putting your tire onto the red and white candy cane strip a little too early, and you're gonna lose that time, definitely, and you'll lose that spot.
Oh, definitely. This is almost a case of cars. Three cars coming along to the start finish line for that Piston Cup, and one of them's got to stick his tongue out, try and get all 3 of them at the same time. Well, for these 3 drivers, that is basically the story they're writing today. So when it comes to this race, those are going to be 3 drivers we definitely want to watch. Oh, actually, as I say that, we have both Cassano and Sampedri move up, but still all 5 of these top drivers here are going to be close to watch. Even Thomas Tasca there, 40.34, not that far off of Chase Jones. It's gonna be interesting to see here. They decided this final round was gonna be the round that they all fight for their lives, and if you will, drive to survive. Looks like Mr. Harknett down there in 13th has finally pulled himself out of 42s into the high 41s. So about time. Yeah, overall owner, everybody. He's trying to make sure people know that he can drive quickly. I honestly expected to see at least Adam Westland there pull into the 140s, maybe not quite having the day he expected. He does perform fairly decently in our EU series, so a little bit of a surprise to see him back there in the 41s. Hopefully he can find a little bit of pace for tomorrow to fight with his fellow EU drivers, Smythe, Adams, and Jones.
Might just be a possibility that the 16 turns here at MISANO just don't suit well with his driving style, maybe. I mean, it could be anything, honestly.
That too. However, I know a lot of drivers do struggle in the rain as well, so.
MISANO, man.
Yeah,
it's a tough track already. You were actually saying it earlier as well. It's a lot of drivers' favorite track, one of my favorite tracks here on ACC, but it's also in the rain, arguably one of the toughest.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, listening to those BSR drivers over the last couple of days, a lot of them talking about how you know, it's a great track to run and they can be very fast there and get through it. But as soon as the rain comes in, it changes their driving style here completely, and they have to be far, far more cautious. So, yeah, you know, some drivers, you know, myself included, I don't hate driving in the rain, but sometimes it's not on the plate for us. And, you know, the rain can really affect the way you drive and your attitude to the track. So, you know, maybe it's just one of those where it's not something he's used to. You know, not everybody can be, you know, 2017 Lewis Hamilton out there in the rain showing everybody what it's like to drive on the limit. Actually, the man on screen, Henry Meyer, is proving that you can do it, and if you do it right, you can get a 139.5. He's improved massively, so that's he's really, either he has an immense level of skill here, or we're just seeing a separation of skill. He's pulling out that Lewis Hamilton card. He said the rain, I never heard of her.
I mean, Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, I don't know what it is, but he's getting purple sectors, so sector 2, sector 3 purple.
Yeah.
The only sector that he doesn't have purple is sector 1, who's actually being held by Thomas Tasca there. But not actually that far off either. Actually, looking at the times, it's 3,000th of a second for him to match the time for sector. That is... Oh yeah, he just needs to get sector 1 just a tiny bit, like just to correct a small mistake, and he should be able to find that 3,000th of a second.
Oh yeah.
Either that or increase the splitter range forward so that when he crosses the line, it counts as a splitter.
Oh. Well, I cut to Adam Westland here because he finally broke himself into the 140s there after must have heard us talking about him being a little bit slow and decided he was going to show up. But yeah, 139.5 is astonishing. And so, you know, obviously looking at the timings, there's other drivers that are right there on the money with him that could, you know, just need that little bit more of a push here and there. But you know, I'm honestly just surprised to not see any other 139s up on the board. You know, Henry Meyer is definitely showing a difference in skill here in the rain. Maybe just a little bit more practice here in the rain, maybe just more accustomed to driving in it, you know, depending on where you're from. You know, maybe that's why drivers like Lewis and Max Verstappen are better in the rains, because it rains so much in their homelands. You know, they're just used to it. I mean,
he's got that balance set up.
Oh yeah, you know, you spend a lot of your time driving at home in the rain, and you get on the track and do 200 miles an hour in the dry. You get used to those difference in conditions. So this is an interesting one. It's still very tight with amongst all of our drivers. You know, the gap between P1 and P2 is a little bit spread. So we'll see if he can't pull away in the race and get something done to hold on to P1. But from P2 to, I mean, P7, all within half a second, and then, you know, back to P11, less than about 8/10 of a second. So very, very close here for a final round. It's going to be interesting. We do have 45 seconds to go, so maybe we'll see some last minute punches into that end zone. I think maybe our back two drivers, Mr. Shoot and Harknett, are happy that they managed even into the 141s. And well, hey, you know, there's nothing wrong with pulling up the back. I'm sure Richard here, as he has commentated the last 4 races, is just here to have a little bit of drive time, enjoy himself a bit. Yeah, just get involved in his premier race. And we do have to thank him gracefully and appreciate what he does for this league and this this one specifically. You know, hosting a race like this or a series like this with such a prize pool, $500 in total. I mean, it's not something you see in every league, and I'm sure it doesn't come easily on the pocketbook for ORL. So, looks like our final times are coming in. Looks like Henry Meyer is taking that P1 spot. We will see if maybe Zampedri can jump forward a little bit. even Ruggiero a little bit more. Quickly,
We have Tasca as well, still on track.
yeah.
Just with the valid qualify. Maybe faking it.
These last 4 drivers are definitely going to be looking to see if they can improve. Let's go to Sano. Oh, no, he's already done. Ruggiero, there we go. Let's see if he can't jump forward just a little bit. He is in P2 in our overall standing, so this is not going to be a good performance for him today.
No.
Zampedri in P4 there. He is also P1 in our overall standing. So 2 drivers that are looking for big finishes today, not in the best positions overall. See, as he comes over the line, he does not improve, but P4 is a good place for him to start. And then our last driver, Tosca here. See if we can't make a little bit of an upset there at the front. Oh, he does not, unfortunately. So that is... Oh, okay. Gotta wait a second. I was a little bit too preemptive of... There we go. There we go. Yeah, so our top driver, Henry Meyer, with the 139.5, astonishing time here today to set him up for the race. Cardinale, who is 7th in our overall standings, puts himself in P2 with a 40.042. What a time for all of these drivers. Definitely a big gap between P1 and P2 there, but hey, it does happen, and some drivers just pull out a little bit farther in front. Pisano is exactly where he would want to be today. He is P3 in our standings and P3 to start, boasting just over 0.2 of a second from P4's Zampedri, who does lead the standing. So definitely a fight to watch there and see if Zampedri can come back and get in front of Pisano. Even if he does finish even just a position behind, as long as he finishes ahead of Ruggiero, he is in safety. He is 156 points over 120 to Pisano. So quite a few points there. I believe that's 36 points separating them. So just as long as he finishes either right behind him or even just one position behind that, he should be in the clear. Tosca there, P5. I'm looking for him on the standings. I think that might be a wild card driver today.
I believe. Yes.
He is. He's P6. Yeah. Well. He is a wild card driver, so not there for the prize pool, but here just to drive for a little bit of fun. So definitely a little mix up there and exciting there. Chase Jones just behind him. He's P4 in the standings. Not a lot to fight for him. 20 points ahead behind Pisano and 16 points ahead of Bowers. So for these top few drivers, definitely some fights to watch. Now, Ruggiero is one that surprises me, down in P8, P2 in the standings. He's going to definitely be trying to get some positions here, maybe early into this race, or just try and hold on to it. You know, he does need to find some positions if he wants to keep his P2 overall. 20 points separate him and Pisano. So if Pisano can finish in the position he's in, there is potential that he causes an upset, but there is also potential that he just manages to hold on to that spot with a decent finish. So we will see how this goes. Now, Pisano has been very consistent with P3s every single race, and now he sits in P3. So he's going to be looking to have such a performance again of finishing P3 and become Mr. Consistency. So that's what we're looking for today.
In the rain, consistency is the name of the game, in my opinion.
Oh, definitely. You don't want to overdo it or think maybe you have a little bit of time here and there, especially at this level and this pace. You know, just having that little extra push and drive could be the difference between a little bit of time or ending up in the wall. And we don't want to see any of these drivers in the wall today. So definitely aiming for maximum consistency.
We do. Speaking about the wall, though, in case unfortunately, if some drivers do go into the wall, this is a 60-minute race, so we do have a official pit window and pit stop. There is going to be a 20-minute pit window, 20 minutes into the race. It's going to be open for 20 minutes, and they have to go in there. Drivers have to take fuel mandatory. Fuel is mandatory. 25 seconds of fixed fuel time. Tires are not mandatory. However, normally in a race here at Misano, you would change tires. And for a 1 hour race, I would probably. Now, would you change tires in the rain?
See,
That's going to be very interesting to see what the drivers choose and how their strategies change, especially for the drivers on top and for the drivers fighting for the standings here, because they probably, like we were talking about Zempedri and Ruggiero, coming in probably feeling pretty good about themselves, and then fortunately not seeing the results that they want. So that's, in my opinion, going to change the strategy. Definitely.
Oh, definitely. With the wet tires, they definitely have far more longevity than dry tires. So it will be interesting to see, maybe we have drivers that opt to change tires and other drivers that don't, and we have some jumps in pits. But if the question then will be, will staying on old tires impact the longevity of their race and their ability to maintain grip in the wet? That's always the biggest question with rainy races, is can you manage your tires for a full hour, or are you just going to take the 5-second hit and go on new tires and get that little boost in speed? On dry tires, you come out with fresh tires. That first lap is a little bit rough, a little bit slow. You're trying to find any heat you can, but with wet tires, there's definitely a margin there. Cold track, wet conditions, and finding that heat can be just a little bit harder to get you going. So definitely going to be interesting to see. I always like to wonder, are drivers going to go for an early pit, decide, okay, I'll do 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and then just blast the last of the race on maybe a fresh set of tires? Or are they going to push their first set as far as they can and do a spirited dash to the end of the race? So definitely going to be one to watch when we get around to that time. It'll be keeping a lookout for that, see who dives into pits early and who pushes it further. It's always a mix-up, and you do get drivers usually towards the back of the pack that choose to push just a little bit further, see if they can't gain a little bit of an overshoot on some of those drivers. So but here we go, we're on our formation lap for the start of the race, just in the helicam here, so that we can see if maybe anything happens around the track, maybe an incident here or there in the back. It is raining, so it's very possible, and we see incidents happen all the time. So all of those drivers, 13 cars stacked up on the grid. It'll be a fun one to see. The eyes right now will be on car 99 to see if he can't keep up that amazing qualifying performance through the race. But then our three big dogs, Pisano, Zempedri, and Ruggiero, fighting for championship position. But here we go down to the white as we go green. Let's see what happens here.
Green.
Let's go. Nice clean start, no real jumps. Tightening up on the front there in the T1. A little bit wide for that Porsche and P3. Looks like, a little bit tight in the back. Yeah, this has been a very clean T1. Nothing really major going on.
Squirrely exit in the back for McLaren there.
Definitely looks like the Mustang going on the inside of 87 there. Ooh. Oh, it looks like we got a Mustang spinning around and a McLaren back there spinning around.
No.
Already
That's,
some.
I believe. Was that the number 66? Yes. So that's the number 66. Unfortunately, being turned around. They're coming out of turn 4.
66 back there. It looks like Mr. Chase Jones up here has lost some position as well. MISANO is fighting here with Zempedri. Very tight here. Two teammates here in the Restec cars. Zampedri trying to fight for any position he can. Looking at the side by side here on a wet Misano, looks like definitely a back out there from Pisano to not get too in the way of his teammate. Goodness.
Well, the Mustang unfortunately riding the candy cane strip there and losing some speed coming into the turn 14 exit. Now still in front of his teammate Zampedri, trying to defend for his life by the look of it.
Oh, most definitely.
From not just the Porsche, but also that Ferrari lurking in the back.
Oh yeah, that's one thing you got to keep an eye out, is you might be fighting the car ahead, but as we've seen time and time again, you know, those battles can be very harsh, and you have a car right behind you, and just one slip up from two drivers battling can allow the car behind to just pass easily and gain 2 positions. I see it way too often in GTEU. And it's not to say focus on your mirror, because that's how you start slowing down. Oh, a bit wide there. That's how you start slowing down, but definitely be mindful of all the cars around you. Looks like that Ferrari's looking for any opportunity he can as well. Mustang's right there trying to capitalize on something also. Very tight fight. Pisano's falling back a little bit off of Zampedri. Looks like he's got his eyes in his mirror there. Looks like Ruggiero's pushing up on Tosca there, trying to get by.
Contact.
Yep. Very tight racing, though. Very clean nonetheless. They are side by side right there. Let's watch these two as they come through here. Oh, it looks like Ruggiero just gets past Tosca, so that's definitely beneficial for him. Ruggiero not having the best qualifying, but already responding. He knows that he has some serious work to do to get up there into the front. Let's see Ruggiero there. He is fighting hard. Now is under attack again from this Ferrari behind him. See if he can't get a little bit of pace. This is very tight here. You got those 2 BSR cars behind as well. Smythe Adams just keeping an eye on them, seeing if he can't pull something in. Looks like some very tight battles all around. Myers trying to pull away. He has a little bit of a gap there on Cardinale, but it is pulling back in definitely a little bit there. Oh, it looks like the McLaren was right up the Ferrari's butt there. All 3 of those drivers.
I'm surprised there wasn't more of a nudge there.
Most definitely. Look at the chat.
So we do have a new fastest time on track, and interestingly enough, it's being held by 3 drivers. 3 drivers with the same time right now of 141.025.
Unbelievable. That is amazing.
Wow.
You know, you always see those race times go just a little bit faster, and that is one to see. 3 drivers setting the same time. It really shows you that when you hit that kind of that point of skill where
that flow state.
Yeah, where times can, you know, still vary but be very tight with these drivers. You know, they all start setting pretty much the same sort of laps. This is just a show that the skill level here in the Premier Cup is very, very tight, and proves for some great fight and battles all around. Looks like Pisano is still holding on to his teammate there, Zampedri, trying to run away from Ruggiero, hold on to some of those points, maybe even get moved up. Looking around in the chat, 13 drivers, and what game is this? This is Assetto Corsa Competizione, and there are only 13 drivers with us today. Just because it's the last round, and a lot of some of the drivers further down, I know a couple of the drivers are on vacations or have decided that at this point they're no longer in the battle, and unfortunately when that happens we do lose drivers. It is just part of running a sim racing league. Is if you're not doing well, some people just give up, unfortunately. So looking to the back, looks like Bassoni and Bauer, I believe those were the drivers that got into contact. They're catching back up a little bit. Adam Westland, not sure what happened to him. He's extremely far back. He didn't have a too terrible of qualifying, but now almost 30 seconds behind, or 20 seconds behind Mr. Richard Harknett there.
I'm speaking with the stewards, but I believe Adam Westland was given a drive-through penalty.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Maybe a false out of position on start for him. Let's go see Mr. Pisano. He's riding right. Oh, actually, a little bit of a maybe contact here, or an off track from these two drivers. The BSR drivers, another team we have on track, fighting each other maybe, as Smythe Adams tries to hold on to P7. Definitely going to be fighting his teammate here, I'm sure, for those points, even though Chase is ahead in the standings. Every point counts. These are two drivers that show up very often. They race in our GTEU and have for multiple seasons, and they show a lot of promise and pace. So we'll jump back to our other team over here, Pisano and Zampedri. These two are very close. I don't want to give BSR too much hype. You know, I'm a little intertwined with them, but here we see Pisano making a move to the inside on Ruggiero, or Zampedri. Oh God, my brain's all over the place. Zampedri gets by him, kind of a little bit easy. I don't know if maybe Zampedri gave him a little bit of leeway there. You know, two teammates. Maybe it's possible Pisano has that little bit more pace than Zampedri, and Zampedri allowed him to go by and walk away, try and fight Cardinale for that P2. We'll see how this one develops, if maybe Zampedri starts fighting back. Ruggiero there, just inside of a second off of Zampedri. He's looking to fight these two drivers, so...
Quick update on our Richard Harknett watch. Richard Harknett P12 moved up to P10, but then started giving some positions away to the Premier Cup drivers. Since he is a wild card, he has decided to graciously give those positions back.
Wild card indeed. Most certainly is a wild card. Comes out of nowhere to set some astonishing lap times here. Definitely competitive with our guys. Maybe just needs a little bit more practice and maybe some coaching from our in-house coaching staff to find himself that little bit extra time. But we'll see how he performs. See if he can't keep ahead and hold off Mr. Westland, as he will assumably catch up here in a couple laps with the time he set in qualifying. I can see it happening. Looks like our gaps are opening up just a little bit. We've got some second gaps all around. Looks like these four drivers are keeping it close enough to not give up on their battles, but just far enough apart that nothing major is happening right now. So the joys of having smaller grids like this is very quickly drivers start to settle in, find their rhythm, find their pace, and it's just a hope that maybe somebody makes a mistake and another driver can push forward, especially at a track like this. You know, good corners, good spots for battles, but unfortunately in the rain it can really affect the way the cars perform and handle. Tosca there just behind, will jump to him. He's fairly close to Ruggiero there. He's not giving up. You know, he got passed earlier by that Mustang, but he said he's decided he doesn't want to let go. He wants to fight. He wants to try and capitalize on any small mistake that might be made by that Mustang ahead of him. Very tight for all three of these drivers, in fact. We'll see if maybe the endurance of one of these Mustangs starts to falter and this Ferrari can make some kind of move. Ruggiero has definitely closed that gap onto Zampedri, so we could be seeing a change of position here shortly for those drivers. Very interesting little battle here. They're close in on each other, pull slightly away, close in on each other, pull slightly away. It's definitely shows their craftsmanship of, you know, not taking too many big risks, especially in the rain, because you try to go a little bit too deep on the brakes and it's when you end up in that gravel trap, and nobody wants to spend some time there.
No. That's probably one of the worst spots you could be here, especially coming out of these last couple turns here at Misano. Turns like 12, 13, 14, 15, like this last little section here is also super notorious for drivers just like blowing through their braking zone and just going off track. And the worst part about it is when you try to rejoin, you're going so fast, like your slowest speed, quote unquote, it's so fast that you'll get a penalty for it. You'll get a track because you're going faster than their limit allowed for that specific corner.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you might accidentally like just below your braking point by like 5 meters, 10 meters here in the rain, and unfortunately it'll just push you off the track, and you'll get you'll be given a track cut for it. You pick up 3 of those and you're given a drive-through. That's gonna ruin your, not entirely, but since it is still a 60-minute race, but it's gonna hurt you a lot.
Oh yeah, most definitely. You know, I have seen a couple of times here on that last corner coming out of there, a couple drivers going just a little bit wide there. Now, I myself not too accustomed with this track, so maybe they're just keeping it in those track limits, but you know, this game does have a margin between a track limit with no further action and a track limit with a warning. So they could just be getting away with it, but I do know that after a while, if you have consistent track cuts in the same spot, it does like to give you a warning, just to give you a bit of a heads up not to keep cutting there. So we'll see how that plays out. You know, it still seems like even in the rain, with the risk that curbs can play with loss of traction, a lot of these drivers still taking as much risk as they can for as much lap time as they can. Looks like Henry Meyer is rocking that fast lap again, 139.9. Definitely showing that those 39s are possible in the rain. So we'll see if anybody can fight back for that fastest lap. I'm not sure they will, as we didn't see any other 39s in qualifying, so it would be a bit of a shock to see one of those drivers pull it off.
It'll be Henry's race to lose then, if nobody else can get into the 139s like that.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. He's already 3 seconds ahead of Cardinale there, so definitely putting a gap up there and separating himself, giving him just a little bit of breathing room in case he does make even the smallest mistakes. Now, I'm sure the stewards will be interested, maybe even to see maybe a little bit more detailed data on his car, just to see how see how his car is handling and the separation there, because a little bit of a mistake there from Ruggiero, or Zampedri even, and Ruggiero goes by on the inside.
Mustang on Mustang action.
There you go. That's how easily you can lose a position here. Just a simple small mistake with a car on your tail, and that's that. Ruggiero moves forward. He is going to be happy about that, getting ahead of Zampedri. You know, Zampedri is holding the P1, but Ruggiero is fighting for points here against that driver. It is only a 16-point gap, even with a drop round. You know, both of these drivers would probably look at this as a drop round, as these would currently where they sit would be their worst finishes around. So right now this is just about a fight already called, unfortunately, but hey, it doesn't hurt to fight. Maybe Meyer makes a mistake and loses some positions here, and maybe Ruggiero can push up and gain a better finish and just get a couple more points. You never know what can happen. It is the rain. It is racing. Anything can happen, and it's not over until it's over. So
It's not over till it's over. I do agree with that. Anything can happen. With 43 minutes left in the race, anything.
oh, truly, 3/4 of the way to go. You never know, and the rain could lighten up. The rain could get heavier. And hey, you know, maybe Ruggiero makes a similar mistake like Zampidri and goes a little wide. But, you know, seeing here, Zampidri is not giving up. He is right on that bumper. He is trying he's trying to smell that carbon fiber. And, well, he's definitely putting in that work. I might have to ask him after the race how carbon fiber smells, especially in the rain, maybe like fresh cut grass. Because these drivers are close and fighting hard. Tosca having to maybe go just a little bit wide there.
Having to bail, unfortunately, so wouldn't need the back end of that Ford Mustang. Did we check these cars for any Go Gadget extendo arms or anything? Because Zampidri is right on the tail of Ruggiero, basically hasn't left at all, and it's just been like a small yo-yo. And do we check these cars? Do we check them?
We might have to after the race. It seems like there's definitely, you know, maybe a little elastic band between the two of them, pulling them forward. You know, they spread out, ping back towards each other. I feel like Zampidri is relying on that elastic band to get himself pulled back in here and there. He's doing one heck of a job of sticking to him. There might even be a high-powered magnet. Might need to call NASA and ask if they're missing any.
Do see our first drive-through for track limits being handed out. The 166 Porsche there.
That is unfortunate. That's our Mr. Richard Harknett here. Let's go check him out. And that very interesting checkered livery there. That reminds me of something I've seen in the real world before, but just can't quite place it there. He's got that little maple leaf there representing his home country of Canada. Unfortunately, with that drive-through, that is unfortunate for him. But let us jump back to the battle at hand. This is our only real battle happening right now. It looks like we've got a lot of gaps around the track. 3 seconds between P1 and P2, a second and a half between 3 and 2, and then 4 seconds back to Ruggiero. This battle we're watching here is 4 seconds off of P3. So it definitely seems like these drivers are holding on to what they've got, fighting each other to tooth and nail to hold on to positions and not let the other car pass. So and then Tosca just trying to hold on there at the back. You see Smythe Adams not too far off the back of him there, and then Smythe's teammate Jones just 3 seconds off the back as well. So a little bit of a trail. Looks like Bassoni and Bauer are a little bit closer to each other there in P9 and P10, but back from there's quite a gap between all three of those cars. Unfortunate for Adam Westland, that early drive-through has set him back quite a bit. He is almost 20 seconds, I would say, yeah, just about 20 seconds off of P10. So unfortunate result for him today, unless something major happens in the next 40 minutes, as the pit window should be opening now for these drivers. There is a possibility we see some cars dive in and go for some early fuel and early fresh tires. I can't imagine we will, though. I'm sure around that 30-minute mark is when those fresh tires will hit.
Do see no one entering the pits. Also, I would imagine that the front half is probably gonna not dive in towards the beginning of the window. I'm speaking from my rookie experience. I'd probably wait a couple laps, see what, especially if you're towards the middle, see what the drivers around you are doing.
most
then just kind
definitely.
of decide from there.
Oh,
It all depends. Just it's almost, I don't want to say subjective, right? Because every driver has like their own opinion of when they should go in and go out. But
oh yeah,
there is objectively the best time to do it. Let's just see
definitely.
if these drivers can find it.
Definitely. And a lot of drivers will already have their strategy pinned out, like when I would race, especially in these hour-long races, I find it better to just, go for the 30-30 and just allow racing to play out how it plays out, not worry too much like about an earlier or later pit, just split it nice and perfectly in the middle. So I do know a lot of drivers opt for that strategy, and there's even some that like in this battle, Ruggiero and Zampidri, it could be that Zampidri is waiting for Ruggiero to pit and he'll just keep it out for another lap, or maybe they're just both on the same strategy and they both dive for the same time, and that's where things get really interesting, because I've seen it happen a couple times. The cars go in and they just barely miss their pit box and they end up having to reverse a little bit, and that adds time to your pit stop, or you accidentally, you had a little bit of damage, you didn't want to repair it, but it was still the checkbox to be repaired. So anything can happen in the pits, even when you come in together, unless you both have a spot on pit, it truly can be a turning point for a lot of people's races. I saw it a couple weeks ago with one of our EU drivers. He went into the pits P5, he came out P12. No penalties, and yet he lost so much positions because just a small mistake entering his pit box changed the outcome for him that much. So can be unfortunate. Zampidri's keeping on the tail of Ruggiero here very well. He's not letting go. This is quite a performance from all three of these drivers. Tosca is they're the same. All three of the these two drivers behind Ruggiero close the gap. It extends out a little bit in some of these faster sections, and then they close the gaps again. So very possible that something really does happen with this pit window. If one of these drivers pits early and gets a good run out of the pits, they could get an undercut. It looks like Tosca dived for the pits there.
Yes.
He did. Just saw that out of the corner of the screen there. So that's an early pit for Tosca. It looks like that's our first pit of the race. So we'll see what he can perform, see if he manages that undercut that I was just talking about. It's very possible there. Obviously, we've got some gains in positions. It's a 3-second gap back to Smythe Adams, and then another 3 to Chase Jones from this battle, and it's still very tight. Maybe these drivers struggling just a little bit towards their pit window, or maybe they're just having a good little fight here. Be interesting to see how this goes, and the points aren't too much in contention right now. Hopefully for these drivers, the pits of the cars ahead will bring them back into a closer battle.
We'll be keeping an eye on the pit, in the pit area. Speaking of pit stop and pit window, MISANO deceptively long pit exit. Entrance is also a very scary entrance in the wet. So if you make a small mistake there, it's gonna again increase your time to get back out on track. The 521 Ferrari, driven by Tosca, leaving the pits now. We do see our leader crossing the finish line, electing to still not go into the pit stop. So our pit lane right now is empty. We'll be keeping an eye on it and let you know as cars come in and out.
Definitely 15 minutes left of that pit window, so still time still time to play, still time to see. Maybe they're a little later. Tosca definitely going for a bit of an early pit stop, but maybe that plays into some strategy he has in mind. See if he can't pick up some pace here in the next 2 or 3 laps and close out that provisional gap, and hopefully get maybe a little bit, maybe come out ahead of Zampidri and Ruggiero. We'll see how that plays. These two drivers keeping it very tight, definitely giving us something to watch. And looking around the rest of the track, obviously everybody having very consistent drives, but the gap's just spreading out. I feel like maybe Mr. Jones is having a bit of a time here. He's falling back from his teammate quite significantly in the last lap or two. So, I'll give it props to these two drivers, keeping us entertained, keeping some focus on the board, because with this many drivers, it often can be that the gaps open up, and then it is just a game of endurance and stamina.
And having to work with the pit windows, after leaving the pit window, having to work around the blue flags if there are any. Yeah, it just changes the whole dynamic.
Definitely. Looks like Mr. Richard Harknett has gone for his pit.
Yes.
I did see he hit his drive-through, so a little bit out of contention. Oh, Chase Jones goes in. I see that just off the side of the screen. So
yes.
Early pit, hopefully maybe taking some new tires to try and pull himself back into the battle.
Maybe repairing. Well,
potentially. He has fallen back a fair bit. We'll see if maybe he's had a bit of an incident with his teammate somewhere. Richard Harknett in the pits. That's an interesting one. We appreciate seeing him on track. It's unfortunate that he's trailing around a little bit, but hey, more drivers the merrier. And again, we got to give him a lot of props. He does manage to run the league with real world life going on, and comes in today or last night, asked if we could jump in and cover for him, having a bit of a sore throat and definitely not sounding the best this morning. So out there on the track giving it a little bit of a go today. So big thanks to him, and like all of us volunteers here, and giving what we can to make this league what it is. So it does look like, looking at the gaps, MISANO has closed a little bit into Cardinale. This could be a fight around the pit windows. I'm just keeping an eye in on the tree there just to see what tower even. Looks like Smythe Adams goes into pit. Yep, there he is on the backside of the screen.
Yes, number 87 now into the pits.
Almost bang on that halfway mark. We're 1 minute from our halfway point, 31 minutes of the race to go. So getting very close here. Looks like Zampedri's he was putting his nose in there. He said he wanted to make a little bit of a move there. He said, I feel like we're both going in for pits here soon. Shoot actually goes into the pits now.
Oh no,
what's happened?
Oh, there's unfortunately the number 15 Porsche driven by Cardinale given a drive-through for track limits.
Oh no, that is going to change the course of his race massively, especially right now. Now is not a good time for that. Pit window open. He's going to be looking to pit, and now he also has a drive-through, so that is really unfortunate. Actually looking around, because obviously there are drivers in pits. Cardinale goes into pit. I don't know if he's going to serve his drive-through right this second, but he obviously falls back massively from that, so that's going to be a big upset from him. Oh, actually, as I say that, it looks like he has accepted his fate and retired his car, so that is very unfortunate there. And
sad to see that happen.
That is very sad. It's never good to see a driver give up on their race like that, especially only halfway into the race. There's still 30 minutes to go. Anything could happen, but that's unfortunate to see. Looking back, looks like Adam Westland, obviously because of pits, additionally, he has moved himself back up into a better position, so hopefully gets a good pit. Henry Meyer goes into the pits to finally serve his stop. So these two cars still fighting very hard and still out on track. MISANO as well. Our top three drivers still waiting to pit. Let me quickly check and see. I know there's somewhere on here I can see their pits, but Yep, looks like our top 6 drivers, I guess Henry Meyer, and Fleming Bauer are both in pit. So just our top 4 drivers now still need to pit with 9 minutes to go in this window. So we'll see how quickly they start pitting in as we cross that halfway point. There's Richard Harknett right off the back of the screen. Just saw him pop into view in that little Canadian car of his. This gap staying very tight. Looks like Smythe Adams actually is actually in front of Tosca, so maybe a slight mishap in his pit stop there. So that is unfortunate for him, but still very close fight there. Tosca's only a 1.5 seconds off of the back of him, which is unfortunate. Oh, sorry, you can go on.
No,
I was just gonna say, I think it's unfortunate for Tosca, being on the back end of this battle here, and now being actually behind the car that was behind him. Closing the gap just a little bit. We'll see if he can't improve. Now, still, these top 3 drivers are out on track running it. They're really counting down this pit window here, pushing it to its limit. So we'll see how close they actually do push this one to its limit. I'm interested to see if Bassoni goes into pits here soon as well. I think he does go past the pit entry this time around, so counting down the laps to the end of this window.
Time left.
Looks like, oh, there we go, Adam Westland into the pits. He's forgot that he had not pit yet, so I guess he did have a drive-through, didn't he? So that explains my data showing him with a pit. So here he goes into the pits. We'll see where he comes out. Maybe close to Bauer. Ideally for him, that would be the best case scenario. Have a little bit of fight for those top 10 points. It does look like Zampedri's backing off just a little bit, so we could see one of these drivers go into pits this time around. I'm kind of hoping for their sake, but
I would imagine one of the teammates would go in and one would stay out. Like that's what I would assume.
Oh, most definitely.
We're looking on the screen now.
Oh,
and
they both dive for the pits.
Wow.
Amazing. Even Pisano goes into the pits. So let's see if Passoni. Goodness, those 2 names are way too similar for me. Let's see if he dives into pits, because he's our last driver to go for it. He's having a nice little drive here, all alone, quiet, and there he goes into the pit. So we'll jump back to Henry Meyer. He is our fastest lap, and he was our P1 before pits started coming in. So let's see here if he manages to get around the pits before any of these drivers come back out. I imagine so.
14, 15 now. Yeah, I think I want to say yes. He's gonna be able to get ahead of all these drivers in the pits, so that's probably gonna put Meyer in that provisional 1 spot.
Oh, yeah.
As we said before, the exit of the Misano pit lane is super long. As we can see them in the back now.
Definitely.
They still have to take that pit limiter all the way till they reach to almost this exact spot, and that's what.
That is unfortunate. That is a long pit lane for them to run down. Now I'm interested to see how Smythe Adams jumps up here. He's got Tosca behind him, then Pedri, Ruggiero. How are they coming out? Where is Ruggiero? There's Smythe Adams in the background, so he gets out nicely. Zampedri is ahead of him. I'm not seeing there's Ruggiero, so definitely a separation in the pits. Maybe one of them, maybe Ruggiero just barely missing his pit board, which
Myers maybe
potentially that too. It is almost a 5-second gap, so that changes the course of this race massively and changes the battles we have on grid. With 24.5 minutes to go, like we've said time before, you know, anything can happen. Small mistakes. That's what screwed over Zampedri the last time and put Ruggiero ahead, was a slip up into one of the corners, just going a little bit wide, getting unsettled, and Ruggiero able to capitalize on that. So we'll see how these two Mustangs can perform if they can't keep their spot now. Looking around, Tosca here, he's right there behind Mr. Smythe Adams and the 87 McLaren. He's definitely looking to gain some positions back. A little bit of a snap there, but holds on to it. He is closing the gap a little bit, but whether he can hold on to that gap and close it out and even fight with Mr. Adams is going to be an interesting one, to say the least. Now, I know that Mr. Smythe Adams is quite the defender and won't let this pass be easy, even if it does come up. So 23 minutes to go and our gaps have spread out nicely. This is definitely a game of watching the timings and seeing who's close and who is not. Looks like Adam Westland 3 seconds behind Charles Shoot there.
We have a battle brewing between Smythe Adams and Tosca there. Tosca not really in contention for the championship. However, there is really no rule not allowing him to race. He is allowed to race his race and apply pressure where he likes.
Most definitely. Yeah, he is a wildcard driver there, I believe. So I believe that's what the silver markings are for.
Yes.
Yeah, he is wildcard. So, you know, not a fight that has to be fought, but one that is not restricted either. If they want to go wheel to wheel, then hey, we up here in the commentary booth definitely support it. You know, we want to see the action. It's nice to sit in this little hut with the heating and a coffee in hand, but hey, we only have fun if these drivers are having fun. So this battle is pulling in so tight now. Tosca is wanting that position. I think he realizes he has the pace to fight with Smythe Adams, and there's Mr. Harknett ahead of them, giving way.
Giving the space for the blue flags.
Yep, giving way to these cars, definitely understanding they have just a bit more pace than he does and not hindering their drives at all. Seems like it did open the gap just a little bit there. But nothing that should affect Tosca too much. He definitely has the pace and rhythm to fight here with Mr. Adams. Let's go Richard and let's go Meyer. Yes, Richard, I mean, hey, he's not having a terrible race. He's out here, he's putting it in, and he's giving his all. And Mr. Meyer, I mean, he's having one heck of a race. Performed astoundingly in qualifying with a 39.5, and now is 10 seconds ahead of William Pisano. So definitely a good performance there. Now let's see where Meyer actually, I think we said, yeah, Meyer only joined us in the first race and unfortunately missed the round 2 through 4. So definitely nice to see him on track and show what he could have done in those other 3 races. If he had been around, we possibly could have seen some more contention for our championship lead. Now, our top 3, just to remind everybody, are Italians, all 3 of them, and you know, Mattia Zampedri there in P3, Eduardo Ruggiero in P4, and William Pisano in P2 are a 1, 2, 3, nicely split apart. That I think our standings are basically confirmed, but this will be a nice set of points for Pisano to put him ahead of Ruggiero, who is the guy he's fighting ahead of him. So maybe we might see just a slight upset. I'm not entirely sure how many points they might get for each position, but it could be just enough to bump him ahead. That little bit that he needs, though we will have to see in the post-race what actually happens in there. So
Sampedri and Pisano being teammates, it's gonna be, yeah, if the standings stay the same right now, I think it'll be a Restec Rispardo Corsa 1-2 in the championship. Uh, Depending on how many points and bar at the end of the championship, right? But it does look like Pisano might be getting more points just because of the difference between him and Ruggiero there. Only 20-point difference in the standings. However, the way the points are handed out per race and the drop around at the end of the championship might shake it up a little bit.
Oh, definitely. With those drop rounds, anything can change in, just a matter of one race. So, for Pisano, finishing where he's at right now is definitely what he needs. I mean, he does have a DNF on the board, which is going to affect that massively, but a P2 finish is going to help a lot. And for Eduardo Ruggiero finishing P4, it would be his worst finish. So, anything can happen, but with a lot of this, with this being Pisano's potentially best finish and Sampedri and Ruggiero's worst finishes, it's possible that this round will pop up as a drop for those two drivers, and that DNF will stay for Pisano. So we'll definitely going to see how these numbers play out after this race. So far it's looking like a fairly clean race, so no real incidents to call up. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if those results come out fairly early on, and we can't make a call pretty quickly.
Right, you are, Magnus. Looking over the steward's report that I've been handed, as well as seeing the drive-through being given to the number 13 there, driven by Shoot. Yeah, sometimes you are your own worst enemy, especially as a driver. So a lot of the penalties that were handed out for this final round so far have been self-inflicted due to either drive-throughs or, unfortunately, just maybe getting a little bit of a terrible pit stop there, taking a little too long, or just not being able to turn the car on. I've had also this problem, not being able to turn the car on right, and that unfortunately sets you back.
It really does. It really does, especially coming out of pits. If you mess up that engine start, it can affect you pretty big. I've seen drivers coming out of corners and hitting that bind they have and turning off their engine, and all of a sudden they gotta stop, turn their engine back on, and get going again. Looks like Shoot went into pits probably for a drive-through, I would assume.
The drive-through handed out for track limit.
Mm-hmm.
That was deadly turn 13. Yes, 13. It's that the double right-handers right after the long straight, that back long straight.
Yes.
And that's where if you go a little bit too much to the left and eat the candy cane strip on the left, or if you brake too hard and you dip your wheels too much into the divot that's there, into the I can't remember what the specific word is. I apologize. It'll come to me as soon as I continue talking. But as soon as you dip your wheels into that section of that turn, you throw your car off balance, and it just throws you off track. That's where a lot of cars have been collecting those track cut warnings and collecting the drive-throughs. And if it's not there, then it's the other long straight between turns 6 and 8, where coming into that, you just trying to accelerate, and you'll end up gaining too much speed, which throws you too far wide. And there on those track cuts, it's very strict there. As soon as you dip 2 wheels out, you're out.
Definitely.
And if you go a little too fast, it gives you a track cut instead of a warning.
Yeah, it seems like these track limits are the theme of the day. Everybody's downfall is those limits. It can get to drivers. You think you have that the tire on the track still, and it's just a little bit too far out, and that's it. Or like you said, you just take it a bit too fast, get on the gas a little bit too early, and end up pushing yourself just that touch too wide, and well, you end up paying the price for it. And drive-throughs in this, as we saw earlier, a drive-through, especially coming into the pit window, can definitely affect your entire drive and cause you to not really want to drive anymore. So fingers crossed all of these drivers don't suffer too much harder. Tosca, going into pits, he, I assume, has that drive-through as well. I think I did see him take track limits there on the last like 2 corners. So that's unfortunate.
I think we should stop talking about drive-throughs, because as soon as we started talking about them, they started started handing them out. Like,
we're getting that commentator curse.
You get a drive-through. Speaking of drive-through, here at Misano, a drive-through is about 28 seconds, give or take.
Goodness.
Since it's the rain, I would probably add a couple. So let's say 30 to 31 seconds.
Goodness.
It's going to take you to get from the start of the pit entrance to the exit and back on track.
And that massively,
31 seconds,
that massively changes your race. Like, Tosca was there on the back end of Smythe Adams so long. Like, at one point we saw him, just a 10th or 2 behind, right on his bumper, looking for a potential move around, but falling back a little bit, and then very quickly in with a drive-through with it, which is so unfortunate. You go from fighting, almost wheel to wheel with another driver for some good points in position. I mean, wild card driver, but hey, put up a fight nonetheless. And suddenly, you're into the pits for 30 seconds and losing out, which, gives way for some of these drivers to gain position as well. Chase Jones moving up, Pisano, Pisoni, and Bauer, all moving up. So actually, speaking of Pisano, he's going into pits now. Could this be his drive-through downfall right now as well?
That's him serving the drive-through, and that's going to be putting Zampedri in front and Ruggiero as well. So if he's not going to be able to, catch up, I think that's going to be the P2 for the championship for him right there. Unfortunately for the drive-through. Oh no.
Well, yeah, that's a big lot. This is even with
Smythe Adams taking P4 now.
Yeah, moving up the grid. Smythe Adams has a couple not so great finishes, so this will be really good for him and his points, possibly moving ahead. Fleming Bauer is the driver ahead of him in the standings. Only 4 points separate them, so this will give Smythe Adams a shift upwards in the points. Even Chase Jones moving ahead of Pisano.
Chase Jones being able to collect that spot away from Misano. Chase Jones now moving up into P5. That puts Pisano in P7, right behind Passoni, who was able to get out ahead. And that's gonna be super heartbreaking.
That is going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how the points lay down now as well, because Chase Jones has 100 points and William Pisano has 120 in P3. So, for Zampedri and Ruggiero now, that was almost perfect for them. Zampedri leads the standings and is in P2, and Ruggiero is P2 in the standings and right behind him. So Ruggiero is going to be fighting hard here to try and take that position away. But for these two drivers, I mean, the position they're in right now, this is cementing the championship for them both. There's 10 minutes to go though, so let's not talk too early and jinx any one of them. 10 minutes to go and less than a second between them. There could be some good hard fighting, and as we saw earlier, Zampedri did make a small mistake and allowed Ruggiero to get by, so we will see what might change here. Get some interesting camera angles here. Watch them fight down on each other. A little bit.
Squirrely exit there for Ruggiero.
Very squirrely.
And there it is. Oh, unfortunately, another drive-through given for track limits. Now picked up by the number 16 Ford Mustang driven by Ruggiero.
Oh, goodness.
that's the section where you get a little too complicit. Your wheels unfortunately go a little too wide on the exit on the past those sausage curbs, and you pick up those track warnings and the track cuts, and you just, oh man, we had too many at this point. Only 10 minutes left in the race.
That is so unfortunate, especially at this point with these two drivers fighting so hard, and he takes that drive-through. It's going to push him all the way back. He might have a chance to fight with Pisano if he can keep his foot in just right, but that's going to be a big upset here for Ruggiero with those points. You know, I think if he can continue to fight with Pisano towards the end, he's extending his time until he needs to take that DT. You know,
extend the lead.
Yeah, if he can fight with Pisano, come out ahead, or even be just a position behind, he might just be able to hold on to that P2. But after the drive-through, if he comes out too far behind, like in position with Tosca, he is ruined. But you know, it seems like that drive-through's made him put his foot in. He has closed the gap to Ruggiero and is trying everything he can to maybe just get in front of him before he jumps in for that drive-through.
That drive-through is so detrimental to Ruggiero's race. And if I remember correctly, if you don't serve your drive-through, like if you were to ignore it, or if, like, let's say it's like the end of the race, like there's one lap left and then you get the drive-through. If you don't serve the drive-through, I think you're handed a 120 time-second penalty, which essentially completely destroys your race. So you want to complete your drive-through penalty. That's gonna put Ruggiero, he's P3 now. That's gonna put him near Pisoni in P7, P8 with Bauer there. And I don't know if he's gonna have enough time to fight. If this was a longer race, like maybe an endurance race of 2 hours, maybe like if we had another hour left, I would argue that this is just like tis but a scratch, and Ruggiero could come back. However, this is going to be very painful for Ruggiero. However, it's not going to be painful for Meyer, because the more drive-throughs that the other drivers pick up, the bigger the gap that Meyer is able to put between himself and the other drivers.
Most definitely.
Relatively by himself for most of the race there. Meyer's still leading by a pretty big margin. 6 minutes, 35 seconds left in the race. He is coming up to some blue flag traffic, however, so they are going to give him space. But that gap, I don't think that time gap between Meyer and P2 and P3 and Zampidri and Ruggiero is going to go anywhere anytime soon. Especially with Zampidri still defending, which will slow you down.
Oh, absolutely. Defending against Ruggiero, and Ruggiero definitely having to come in for that drive-through this time around. Going for the inside. Oh, a little bit of a touch there.
Oh, switchback.
Oh, that was definitely a good little fight. But yeah, just kind of missed out a little bit there, unfortunately, for Ruggiero. He was trying to get past so he could try and gain some time before he goes in. You know, I think if he doesn't serve that drive-through before, you know, within the 3 laps, and it's not that close to the end of the race, he does get disqualified, if I remember correctly.
I do want to agree with you. I think you're right. If the race is still going, you get disqualified if you don't serve it.
Yeah, so he should be coming into pits this time by. We'll see if he actually makes that decision, or if he goes to the line and disappears. That would be extremely unfortunate. There he goes, into the pits.
There he goes. So, joining the number 13, who's also serving another drive-through.
Adams around the back, so he's going to lose a good chunk of positions here.
Let's keep an eye on the 109 is crossing over turn 50. Oh. Let's see if he's able to get past it.
Turn 16. I think he is definitely going to gain a position here. There's Pisano right behind him, so that's what the gap we want to watch there, truly. I think I just saw Ruggiero. Yep, there he is, still in that pit lane. So
still coming out.
Definitely missing out. There he is, still under limit. That is unfortunate for him.
He's out now. Drive-through cleared, and that is the number 4 coming up behind it, but he's able to stay in front. So Bauer still staying in P8. Ruggiero, unfortunately, moving down all the way to P7, giving up those spots. Giving up away the podium spot, unfortunately, to Smythe Adams there, now in P3.
Yep. That is unfortunate. It's going to be good points for Smythe Adams and Chase Jones with 4 minutes to go. So, maybe Ruggiero can close this 2-second gap to Pisoni and get just a little bit closer to Pisano just so he's not losing out as much. But, yeah, that's very unfortunate. It just goes to show that the rain and, pushing to the limit can really affect things and, push a lot of track limits. And if you overdo the track limits, this is where you end up. So it's an unfortunate outcome for a lot of these drivers, and I say he needs to close that gap. He's already starting to close it out a fair amount. So we'll see if he can't get it done. Let's look around the grid. Let's go join our leader here, Henry Meyer. He's been having a very good race, very quiet for the most part, and just consistent. That's the thing with P1 is you want to be as consistent as possible and just go drive, get away from the other cars, and have a quiet race. That's what more could you ask for, especially for number 99 here. Definitely having a very enjoyable race, and a nice, I want to say fairly easy win. Nothing too major has happened here for him, and walked away with it in qualifying, and now he walks away with it in the race. So, congratulations to him on a final round lead. Don't want to call it too early. We still have 2 minutes and 15 to go, but I'm sure we can all see the end of this race being just about what we see on the left side right now. I do think a driver disappeared. There's only 11 cars on the track now, so not sure who exactly we lost, but looks like the I don't remember his name, the other wildcard driver.
Oh yes, unfortunately dropped as well.
Yeah, Tosca, that was who it was.
Yeah, Tosk.
Yeah.
Tosca was handed, unfortunately, a drive-through track limits.
Oh goodness.
Tired the vehicle.
Well, hey, things happen, and unfortunately, with such a short amount of time left in the race, I can't blame him. Honestly, he'll still get the finish for doing more than 75% of the leader's laps. So, power to him, I guess.
And speaking of leader, I believe that's the white flag. It should be the final lap if that serves me correctly. Let's take a look. But something that we were also speaking about, and also kind of like helps our argument, anything could happen in the race. 60-minute race, small little mistake by a driver could cost them almost their entire race. But we are seeing Henry Meyer coming around the last couple of turns, which looks to be maybe the final lap. There are about 35 seconds left. But one of my favorite sayings, and something that we can also see, is that pressure's for tires, and it doesn't look like Henry Meyer is feeling a lot of pressure today. Driving very cleanly, very quickly on a wet Misano here.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Premier Cup.
We are gonna get just
Great
one more
drive.
lap too, but yeah,
Oh yes, there's the white flag now.
Amazing driving from Meyer. He's really come out and shown up, and made other people kind of maybe wake up and realize complacency doesn't win. Especially for those Ruggieros and Petrie and Pisano, all three of them. Probably quite comfortable coming into this. Maybe they will keep their championship positions, but hey, it just goes to show that, anything can happen. If Meyer had been here for a few more races, who knows? We could have seen some other, some other guys in that charge for the win. So, congratulations to to Henry. Sorry, I'm reading the wrong name. Congratulations to Henry on an amazing drive today, coming around to the end. Actually, really quickly, this gap closed down as I was talking. It was almost a second out in this last lap. Oh, touch there a little bit, maybe some net code, but a very close gap has suddenly appeared. This is amazing. I want to watch it, but we're about to see I'll jump to the P1 in a minute as he comes across the line. We'll watch this for as long as we can.
And we'll be keeping an eye on the battle between Chase Jones and William Pisano here.
Pisano
they're so close.
Pisano is looking for anything he can get here.
Fighting until the end.
We're halfway through the lap, so yeah, this is a fight to the end for all the points that they can get. Even Ruggiero there behind in the background.
The checkered flag going to
there we go. He's across the line. Matias and Pedri coming around the last corner, taking that P2, trying to keep an eye quickly on the timings here. Smythe Adams, looks like Pisano got past. He got past Chase Jones.
Oh,
we were away, but he got past.
In the last corner too. Smythe Adams taking P3. Pisano and Jones still fighting till the bitter end. Let's see who takes it, who wants it more.
Oh my goodness. Pisano, it takes that from Chase Jones. Maybe Chase Jones struggling just a little bit there in the end of the race, so that is unfortunate. And Ruggiero gets a position 2 on Pisoni. I saw that very briefly in the background, so congratulations to him for getting by in the last second. And here comes Mr. Bauer around to take P8 and Adam Weston back here in P9. So very quickly, while these last drivers come around to the end, Henry Meyer takes P1. So congratulations to him on an amazing drive today and such a great performance. Mattia Zampidri P2, Smythe Adams with that P3 finish, William Pisano with the last second P4, Chase Jones losing it just in the last couple corners to P5. Eduardo Ruggiero into P6. Pisoni P7. Fleming Bauer at P8. Adam Westland on screen now P9. Sean Shute P10. And Richard Harknett just across the line in P11. So what a race today. These drivers. Here's Mr. Henry Maurer, our winner. Congratulations to him on that win. What a drive today. This has been quite an amazing little race to watch, and congratulations to all the drivers this season that competed. And with that prize pool, hey, some people are going to be seeing a nice little check today. And yeah, I mean, goodness, this has been an interesting race, and I'm glad that we could be here to commentate it for you. I'm glad Richard got his chance to drive before the end of this season, and thank you to Christian for joining me today. I've appreciated the company, and hopefully everybody that watched enjoyed what they saw and what we had to provide for them. So, anything you'd like to add, Christian, before we close it out for the day?
Just to everyone watching, thank you so much for joining us on behalf of Odyssey Racing League and myself and Magnus here in the commentator booth. If you would like to join us in our next Premier Cup or any of our events, you can always find us on simgrid.com/Odyssey/host/Odyssey Racing League. You can also check us out on Discord, so you can keep up to date with all of our information and just to get in contact with us or in any one of our admins, or even just leave us some feedback on any of our events. You can find us at discord.gg/Odyssey Racing.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Christian, and thank you everybody for tuning in with us today. Don't forget to join us tomorrow at 7 p.m. GMT or I believe 2 p.m. EST for the EU GT series. Same track, same conditions, and I will be with you here today tomorrow. So thank you everybody for watching. Have a great rest of your day, afternoon, evening, wherever you may be in the world, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Don't forget your swimming trunks.
And anything greater than a miracle, it wouldn't be this difficult if we try to be a negative goal. Yeah, we could be taking control. Try to believe, and that is the greatest